Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the solo record from Euge Valovirta, Shooting from the Hip, out June 30th as a self-release. This album has 10 tracks, 34 minutes in length, and this is his second solo record. You perhaps know him for his work in Syra and Red Wolf. Full instrumental album. I was not expecting anything else. I didn't think he was going to bring in guest vocalists. He wants to be a guitar player's album, and that's exactly what you're going to get from this record. As far as the structure goes, I like the fluidity that it has. It has ebbs and flows, ups and downs. It's a very dynamic album. It doesn't offer one single approach from the first song to the last song, and you start to lose track of where you are within the record, and it becomes harder to see the forest from the trees. That's not what this album is all about. This is really about the individuality of the songs and what each and every single one of them has to offer to the listener. Now you have to put them together in the best way possible in order for the album to be continuous, in order for the album to be fluid and not have this stop and go feel. I felt like he did a wonderful job connecting these tracks, bringing some similarities to the forefront and allowing the record to feel as fluid as possible and not broken from track to track. So I really like the playability that this album offers as far as the overall structure is concerned, because you press play, you sit back, you enjoy the record, and you don't really feel like the album is pausing or changing directions on you from track to track. You're always moving forward, you're just moving at different speeds with different sceneries surrounding you. Once you get into the soundscape, the album is very diverse. I mean, that diversity is there in the structure, but it's definitely enhanced with the soundscape that the tracks have. Each song has a different influence. Each song is coming from a different place, and obviously is going to have a different finishing point. And because of that, it changes your perception of the record as you progress through it. You could really feel where the influences are coming on each and every single track, and that allows you to see different sides of the artist himself. This is not just a rock album, this is his album. He's a guitar player, he has different influences, he has different things that really drive the way he plays, and I felt like they put them all together. He really comes out and showcases who he is as a person and a guitar player on this album by letting it all stay out there for you to see, for you to experience. Everything that drove him to become the guitar player that he is, that pushing him into the point that he currently is in his career, is really well documented throughout these 10 tracks on this record. I also like one aspect of the soundscape, which is pushing everything else that's happening into the back seat, allowing the guitars to be on the podium, in the forefront. The spotlight is on the guitars throughout this record. As a listener, it helps me understand better where this album is going, and it helps me understand better where these songs are coming from, because I can almost feel that everything else is there for atmosphere, is there to enrich the experience, but it's not there to be part of it. It's really all about the guitar playing, the tone, the drive, what these songs are all about. So by pushing all the other elements into the background and just really focusing or pushing the guitars into the forefront, I think as a listener you're going to get more out of this record. It really feels like a guitar player's album, and that's something that I really think it's one of the strong selling points of the overall experience of listening to this record. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of instrumental records. It's just not my cup of tea, but I really enjoy this album, and I really go back to that aspect of pushing the guitars into the forefront and everything else becoming secondary. That allowed me to really feel the guitar playing style, approach, different changes in style, different changes in approaches, different influence coming to the forefront a little bit better, a little bit more clear, and I was just able to really enjoy it a lot more without getting it all muddied up by everything else that is happening, either be the drums, the bass, or the junction of these elements coming together. So I really enjoy this record. I really enjoy the fluidity that it has. It has great playability. Also, having 34 minutes helps with that, because it's an album that doesn't become redundant, that you don't feel like you've already been there before by the time you reach the last track. So it has this sense of always being fresh and staying fresh every single time that you play it. As far as favorite song goes, I picked 3 tracks that offer something different influences, and obviously different outcomes. Starting off with Pasadena 78, there is a huge Van Halen influence on this track, is undeniable. I think everybody that will listen to this song would feel that. Great guitar tone, great sound. It almost gives the atmosphere of you being in Pasadena, driving with your windows down or top off, and just experience what it is to be in that part of the world. Like, he was really able to capture not only that Van Halen influence, but also that part of California, and really bring it to life in the way he's playing his guitar, and the way the guitar sounds, and the tone, and in the overall delivery. Just love this track all around. Next, this box is too small. It starts off almost like a AC/DC driven rock track. That's the opening, but it doesn't stay that way. It's a song that morphs. It keeps the rock and roll spirit alive as you progress through it, but it doesn't stay in one lane. This is a track that keeps evolving, it keeps changing, it keeps giving you different shades of rock and roll, if you will, different ways of putting a rock song together, but bringing them all into the table in one single track. So it's a really interesting song from that perspective, because it doesn't stay linear. It doesn't have a linear fluidity approach to it that you know exactly this is how it starts, this is how it's going to finish. No, it keeps growing, keeps morphing, it keeps moving around and keeps you engaged with it. Incredible guitar playing on this track, really bringing melody, great tempo, a little bit of grittiness to it, just pure rock and roll sound through and through, regardless of how that rock and roll sound evolves or morphs as you progress through this song. Last but not least, Young Forever. Perhaps the most rock-driven track. A little bit of more heaviness on this song, at least from a consistent perspective. There's other tracks that have a lot of meat on the bone, but this track felt a little bit more pure rock and roll with a consistency in sound, consistency in approach from beginning all the way to the end. Very linear from that perspective. It doesn't really change, and because of that meat on the bone, you have a little bit more depth of sound and overall depth of what this song can really offer to you. So there's a little bit more to digest on this track in terms of the thickness of volume and thickness of sound that comes across and stays consistent from beginning all the way to the end. I love this track because of that. They're more straight to the point, more abrasive approach, if you will, to rock and roll that's really present, that's really alive and well in this song. And there's a little bit of that youthful irreverence, if you will, present in the melody, present in the approach, present in the song structure, present in the overall creation of this track. So Young Forever is the perfect name for a song that really pushes that youthful spirit to the forefront in the form of rock and roll. This is it. This is Euge Valovirta, Shooting from the Hip. His solo record out June 30th as a self-release. Let me know your thoughts on his guitar playing, on his solo record, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.